Okay, Cup. Welcome to our fourth class. Let me share the screen. Okay. Welcome to our fourth class in the emerging technologies for lifetime learning. As you have noticed by now, this class is a little bit unconventional, and it's meant to really get your intellectual juice going. And the promise that I give you guys is I'll give you the schema, right? Schema is a way of sort of like thinking about things, okay? Your perspective on how you can approach technology space. I'll give you framework for analyzing things, right? And I'll give you library. Library, that means literally libraries of books, you know, PDF, online books, whatever. I've sent you a few so far, but I have plenty more. But also libraries in terms of capability or tools like Mathematica for prototyping. Okay. Now, I trust that you have installed the Chulalongkorn's license, right? By the way, it's quite expensive, so make good use of it. And we have 100 running license. So as you finish the course, you know, if a new course for example, in my data analytics class, we'll get over their license. So we're quite generous. I mean, we have students from other departments within Jula who uses Mathematica and have asked for license. So when we have because we have student license, we don't just have one. We can have students use that. So any student of Jula, provided they register with Jula, and we have free license. We have, I think, 100 altogether, okay, assigned to students that can be reassigned, and then we subscribe it over the years. So make good use of that. It's a powerful software. It's a good for this class. I think I've mentioned to you before. For professional mathematician, Mathematica is like the only tools they can use because it's analytically the most powerful. But for prototyping, if you are well versed in JavaScript or Python, stuff like that, you can get by. You can do all that prototyping. But if you're starting from scratch, one thing that's good about Mathematica is a lot of it is very high level. Okay, it's gone through many iterations. The earlier iteration are just functional, right? What the programs can do. But as they later on anticipate what data science does, okay, there are certain things that are sort of like standard practice. You know, you get this data, what do you want to do? You want to look at it, check for null, check for this, check for that, look at that. So there's a lot of standard pipeline that has already been kind of encapsulated, compactified. So it's quite high level. And of course, it has its own little linguistic AI, so you can type in free verse, you know, say, I want to plot histogram of this and check for that. And then it will try to translate that into a program. Okay, now, today we have what I actually intended, well, you know, if this was a regular class, we meet in person from the very beginning. I wanted to go over this framework. Okay, this is going to be framework. So once we're done with this, I'm going to move it down here, right? So right now it's there. Okay. So anyway, this framework is sort of like a loop. It's a process. Okay, it's a process for jumpstarting your study into a piece of emerging technology. Okay, whatever area it is. Okay, it's the idea here is, let's go to reading material. Okay. I kind of wrote this up a little bit more formally as a paper, right? Okay. It's a process, right? Start with ingest. Ingest means you're ingesting the material. like you're ingesting food, right? But in this case, you're ingesting YouTube documentary on new piece of technology. Okay, probe is when you ingest, there's like a more precise step of how you parse the narrative that you see. Then there are different areas, there's different junctions in the narrative, each of which can be probed further, right? In other words, you sort of like have a little point where you can drill down and just go on. So a probe is about drilling down that bit that you want to go into. But you can't just probe into the subject without knowing what's out there, because after all, YouTube is a video learning. It's just a beginning, right? Just to get you. Oh, if there is such a technology, right? So you have to do a proper scientific survey. So this is most resembling what you do in literature survey section of your senior project or your paper, right? And then the imagine part, this is the bit where you sort of like, it's a bit more personal. This is how you get involved into this space. How do you want to drive the technology forward? You can just enjoy. You don't have to contribute, but certainly you can be in the position to contribute, right? So the example I used in this this paper was this video, which is this one. Yeah, which I don't. This one. How close are we to? Yeah. I'm gonna start halfway.
If you want to lead something, start by saying.
Let's take the ad off. Yeah, it's got it. Okay, fine. Okay. Now.
Plastic is everywhere. From the camera.
This narrative, I'm not gonna play for you, right? But it is a narrative of, well, first of all, as with any kind of a narrative or paper, in fact, is a narrative. Academic, you have to say, what's the problem? Okay, what's the problem and how you're trying to solve it? What's your solution? Okay, the scientific literature is all about everybody stating a problem that's out there and providing the authors contribution to solving. Okay, so the narrative, you should read a scientific paper. It's a very good, it's a good way of training your mind. Okay, the abstract sort of like summarize the whole thing. The introduction said, where are we? What's the problem? Why are we even looking at this problem? Okay? And then it would go nicely into this literature survey, which is saying other people have looked at this. Okay, other people have looked at this. I mean, you're not the first guy. So that's a literature survey. It's something you built on. Okay, and other people have looked at this. Some have used approach A. Some have used approach B on the problem within context C. Right? Then you say, well, my contribution can be a few things. I can take technique A on a new context. Okay, and this is what I call replication research. It's important to do in your early stage, but it's not that much fun. It's like saying they have an equation, they run on this data, they haven't run on your data. You're from Thailand, so let's take a Thai data and rerun it. See what happens. See if we get the same result. Okay, so that would be technique A, but context B of your own. Okay, or the combination of this context and that variation of techniques and context, you kind of mismatch a little bit. Now, the more interesting one is when you build on technique. So it's not A, it's not B, it's A++ or C, entirely different technique of your own. Yeah, it's built on new mathematics, new algorithmic discovery. Okay, so that would be this bit here where the introduction, this paper is a little, it's not written like that because it's more about. Okay, so that introduction sort of like aligns the reader to say what is the contribution. That's the main thing you want to say. Okay, are you contributing new knowledge because you introduce new data set? And sometimes that's valid, by the way. Okay, because you may have built a massive amount of database with respect to Thailand, capital market. Nobody's looked at. Fine. Okay. So that's your introduction. Okay. And that gives you outline about the paper. Then you go to the methodology. This is saying what exactly you're going to do. Then you go to the experiment. That's the result. And you make some kind of conclusion. Well, what I'm advocating is that you're using, let's say, YouTube, okay, wisely. You use it as your starting point, okay? So it's going to serve very much something even before the introduction. It's sort of to get you going, right? So this bit here, you have to ingest, and we'll try to cover this step a little bit. So this is how you kind of deeply ingest the content of the narrative as is provided by the YouTube narrator or documentary you see on Nova or PBS. Okay, but I'm using YouTube, quote unquote, in general as a video narrative. Okay? It's when you probe and survey, that's when it starts to look more like the literature survey part. Okay, and the imagine part is not like an academic paper, because in an academic paper it has to be a concrete contribution. Well, this is really up to you. It could be something like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do a startup on this because I think this is perfect thing I'm looking for, and it's using waste material from coffee production, and my aunt has a coffee plantation up north, and we've been burdened with this waste from the production process, and this is perfect. I'm gonna do that. Okay, so this imagine it's quite personal. So anyway, I won't be playing the video, but this is the ingest part that I want to show you. Okay, this is the ingest part, and if you as you play this, you know, you can see the timestamp below here, right? You can see the timestamp, the bits of okay, question is ad, so we forget that. Okay? Now let me show you what the result or what my mind map, okay, looks like. So, okay. So the framework here, okay, as with any good framework, is usually best learned by studying case, okay? And this is the case. The case is this video, okay? Polyhydroxyalkanoids, reinventing plastic. Yeah, that's the case, right? And this is the framework: ingest, probe, survey, and imagine, right? And you can use this as a template. So in fact, this will be your homework. Okay, your homework will be something like this, but a different video. Okay, I don't want you guys to do the same one. Okay, so let's go to the ingest part, right? One thing I don't like to see is this thing gets in the way. I will get rid of it. I can get rid of this, right? Okay, right. So ingest. Now, just now when I was talking about an academic paper, right? An academic paper, it's one narrative from the beginning to end. The only thing that sort of like fray off is the literature survey. Other people do this, other people do that, this, but I do this. And from there on, it, you know, all the way down to conclusion. Remember I told you about linear narrative, that PowerPoint, right? You want to control the narrative. You don't want people to think about something else. So you go slide 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And by the end of the presentation, they bought your product or whatever. Okay. Well, with YouTube or narration, it's also, you know, linear. You can't do anything non-linear, right? You have to go linear. But in fact, the story that it contains is not necessarily linear. There's a lot of junction. So a good, I could say, a good narrative, a good story is not one problem one solution. It tends to be what you find in real life, which is one problem, one solution. That solution, first of all, doesn't solve all the problem. Okay, so you need another solution. Second of all, even if it solves the problem, it usually creates another problem, right? So solution becomes the problem, or solution, a problem in this case doesn't necessarily mean something is bad. It means something to overcome. Could be a technical problem. In other words, I want to solve this, so I have this solution, but to solve this solution requires this technology that I don't know yet. So that technology is not mature yet, or the market isn't there, or the raw material isn't available. Okay, so when I say problem, I don't mean bad necessarily, right? It's something to be solved. Okay, in fact, you wouldn't be a good student if you don't like problems. Okay, but certainly you'd be a bad doctor if you like problems. Okay, you shouldn't enjoy when your patients are sick, but you should enjoy solving the sickness for your patient, right? But you shouldn't be, oh great, somebody's sick today. That's not your attitude. Okay, so it's just that sort of thing. It's that sort of thing. Okay, so you will see that there's a lot of, there's a problem. Okay, and you can see that on this thing here. Yeah, it does look that has a very good narrative, like I told you, like a paper, right? Introduction, definition. First of all, because in academic paper, you're writing to your academic peers, so the subject itself tells you what it is. You wouldn't be reading it if you don't know what the subject is. But in video, you have to tell what you're talking about. Okay, so the introduction is a little bit longish. So this starts at minute 058, I guess. Okay, so if you go to this video, right? Oops. Anyway, and then you say times equal to 58. By the way, start learning how to use the URL wisely. So there's a lot of programming thing hidden in here that you can, if you know what it means, then you can use it. So this basically means you watch this video and you're setting to time to 58. Oops. Weird. Oh, sorry. What did I do? Enter. Unfortunately, we're going to ads. Okay, but they have to make money somewhere. But anyway, it starts at 58 seconds, right? So that's the thing. That's the notation. Now I'm being a little bit pedantic, and when you do your homework, you're gonna find that it's a little bit tedious, right? You have to go through the seconds and stuff, but it's a good practice. Anyway, so all of this, it has introduction, definition, problem, solution, and conclusion, just like you would expect in a linear narrative. But you will notice in here that there'll be a series here of problem turning into solution, solution turning into problem. So it's more complex than that. So anyway, so I'm just gonna quickly go over this thing like ubiquity. So the first thing is about ubiquity of plastic. That's this, plastic is everywhere stuff, right? And here, for more links, see, oops, yeah, is plastic really everywhere? Blah blah blah. Yeah. Now, why is it everywhere? It's everywhere for good reason. It's got good properties, right? And this is where you start to do the outline. Okay, this is kind of like reverse engineering the narrative. A good narrator doesn't just stand up and talk. Okay, he actually has an outline, an architecture of the talk. It may be on a piece of paper, in his head. Okay, the point is you hear something very smoothly and you can just sort of like zone out and just say, oh, it's a very nice story. But if you are more attentive, you can break things down. You can literally go to say, okay, this is point 1, this is 1.1, 1.2, 1.2a, 1.2b. That's what I want you guys to do. Okay, so goes to what? Mechanical engineering perspective, product design perspective. Okay, and okay, this arrow here is sort of like prompting questions. Okay, these are like open wounds. So it's not something that is closed within the narrative. Okay, so this is something that you can write on your own. So maybe you can ask, maybe it's prompted by the narrative itself. Maybe you can add your own. Say, you think about something else. What about sustainability? You know, that sort of thing. So this, I use this little arrow here as a sort of thing. Okay, this is a little open wound. So you can come back, you can probe. Basically, it's a profile. Yeah, so it's downside of plastic, fine. Carbon footprint, okay, ecological footprint, okay. Some kind of throwaway society, introduction, blah, blah, blah. So that's the introduction, okay? Now, why do they have to do this? This definition is they have to define what plastic is. By the way, plastic is not polymer. Polymer is named plastic. The word plastic came first, okay? That's why you hear about words like neuroplasticity, okay? That means your brain is flexible. It doesn't mean your brain has plastic in it or polymer in it, okay? So plastic means malleable, okay? And once again, I strongly encourage you to do what I did, what I'm doing now, which is go to etymology, okay? Not dictionary. Dictionary, that's easy. That's just, you know English, you tend to know what. Okay. Plastic, capable of shaping, molding mass of matter. Yeah, from plasticus, Greek, plasticos, fit for molding, blah, blah, blah. Basically, malleable, can be made to fit form. Okay, what I said earlier about neuroplasticity is saying that you used to think that, you know, you grow up, you learn something, and you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Okay, but that's not true. That's not true. Old people can learn new things. Okay, your TA can learn to play violin, or I can get hit by a car and have a brain damage, but that can be rehabilitated. Not as much as I would if I were 5 years old. Okay, but it's still plastic until the day, presumably until the day you die. Okay, so plastic is the word. It came first. The word plastic came first. It just means malleable. It turns out that, well, what do you mean by malleable? Malleable doesn't mean that you can manipulate it. You can manipulate a lot of things. Malleable means you can manipulate it and it doesn't break. Right? Yeah. So steel is not what steel is, but let's say something very brittle, okay, like glass. It's not malleable because you can manipulate it, but it breaks. Okay. The reason it doesn't break because it's polymer. So right away, if you are conscious of what you're reading, of what you're trying to understand, the essence of plastic is not it's synthetic. It's not that it came from DuPont or 3M or something. Okay, that's not the point. It's not the essence. It's not. It's a petroleum byproduct. It is a polymer. It's a chain of things. Okay, so if you keep that in mind, that would help a lot because we're talking about bioplastic. Okay, so certainly something biological in nature that is chain-like and so malleable and have that property. Anyway, so they talk about plastic like ethylene of gas polymerized into. So this is a traditional petrochemical basis for plastic. Okay, this is everywhere, right? So that's what we're talking about. So there's plenty of other things and you can talk about. And so this goes into how it's made, blah blah blah, and has a little video, has 1 minute 17. It shows you maybe a video of plastic noodles. Basically, before it gets into products, these come in little pellets. Okay, like cat food. Looks like cat food. Okay, but doesn't smell much. Okay. And then there's family trees of plastics, different. So this so this thing could be something that you throw. Okay, well, wait a minute. We're talking about plastic. So many kinds. There's PET plastic. There's so many. Okay. Now, and then I say packaging turns out to be number one consumer of plastic and so forth. And we'll come to that. So anyway, so now they formalize the problem. Again, it's not, the problem doesn't mean it's bad. Because if the problem is bad, okay, then the problem of this video is plastic is bad. How do we get rid of it? That's not what this video said, right? The problem is, can you make plastic? Okay, so if the problem plastic is bad, maybe the solution is no plastic. This is not the problem. The problem here is you still want plastic. But plastic that are sustainable to A, produce, that means in the process of making, B, when you use it, and after you're done using it. Okay? Now you're familiar with the recycling thing, right? Well, recycling is only the disposal part, right? What about reusing? Okay, reusing, well, that steps up a little bit. That's the use part. What about the production part? What kind of greenhouse footprint does producing plastic have, and so forth, right? So it gets to 2 points. One, in this case, the introduction of bio means 2 things. Okay? It's bio-based. That means it starts life from biological product like plants. Okay, as opposed to fossil fuel. Okay, now you can say that millions of years ago fossil fuels were plants, but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about plants that that die in front of your right in front of you. Okay, so bio-based means something that's alive in your hand and dead. Okay, so if it's gazillion years ago dead, sunk in the middle ocean and gets dug up as fossil, that doesn't happen. And biodegradable. That means the process of degrading requires biological agent, basically bacteria, fungus, etc. Okay? So those are the 2 things. So once again, okay, these are open wounds. These are the area that right now. Now some of the open wound here gets answered later down, okay, but some of it doesn't. So this little arrow is what you should write down when it's something to probe further. Whether or not the video probes for you or it leaves and then you probe, that's up to you, and that's up to the content as well. Okay, so let's go to the solution bit. Well, this is a little bit long because after all, this paper is this video is about solution, but you can see that there's a sequence of this, right? Solution. This lady Molly Morse from Stanford University used mango material, feed bacteria with methane. Oh, that sounds good. But then it goes to a problem. Again, problem here doesn't mean bad, it just means challenges. Well, how can you scale it, for example? You go to another problem solution thing, right? Problem, how do you scale it? Can you scale it? Solution, well, how about use methane from landfill and blah, 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 and so forth. And so it goes to specific detail, right? How do you do this? So there's a lot of twists and turns in a lot of narrative that we have this kind of problem solution, and so this one can be a little bit in a short video. Usually there's only like 1 or 2 loops of problem solution. Okay, but in a complex story, as is in your project, it will be a lot of it. It's a bit like writing codes. Yeah, when you write code, you solve something and then you create some kind of side effect, and then you have. Okay, and then there's a conclusion, right? There's a conclusion part. Yeah, it's a version of the economy. It links to resilient economy and many applications. And okay, what about petroplastic? It's going to beat that, or blah blah blah. Technology here, single digits here. So that's something that should sort of like lights up your interest, because if it's something 50 years coming, okay, you might not say, oh, well, you're not going to be able to take part in it. So somehow you have to think of a sweet spot. I think this quote here, I think all these quotes are not necessarily from the narrative, but sometimes I just write them myself. I'm not quite sure. Yeah. Okay. So you have to, maybe I think double quote means taken directly from the text, from the narrative. Okay. So yeah, it's always, and I'm going to come to this in another part, the second part of the the lecture today, which is about the sweet spot between technology and economics. Right? It's always this. Okay, it would go under my topic of confluence. Okay, so that's the video. So this, you can see that all this, by the way, has time signature, right? So yeah, it does have this linear narrative, but it's a little bit like problem, solution is a problem, you know, that sort of thing. So there is an architecture. So that's why tools like mind map is a very useful thing. Okay. Then, and this is very important, not all videos do this, but the description section. Okay. It has links. Okay, for example, common plastic we use every single day. Kenyan scientists use throwaway plastic to build homes. Okay, so these are sort of like a little initial starter kit of your literature survey, so to speak, right? So it's a little a 2-for-1 punch. And so but this is something that you know, is here not because the author is trying to give the literature survey, but because this is the basis of their narrative. They're not just pulling that out of thin air, so they have to make reference. So it is their reference. It's not meant to be a comprehensive survey. That's where you come in. Yeah. So let's go to the probe. Yeah. So anyway, this is in the paper. Let me show you. Right. So I just kind of expanded this. And so by forking the narrative into tree-like structure, it becomes evidence that content lead has many leads. Okay, what I saw open view of leads. Okay, are themselves subject to further investigative probing. Okay, so this is notated with the triple. Okay, unfortunately, this is LaTeX, so it turns the first two greater sign into this, so it doesn't look like the triple thing. Anyway, right, following the proclamation, plastic is the larger number. The question may arise as to how each country, you know, blah blah blah. Okay, so these are little probe points. Okay, so it's replicate the narration of the tree. Okay, but some of the few branches are eliminated because, you know, you're not interested in doing that. Yeah, you're following this lead. It's like you're following the leads, like in a detective story. There's so many little questions unanswered, but you don't spend your time answering all the questions. You answer the question that you think is going to get to something interesting. Yeah. So not all triple, and this is very important point. Don't just draw triple triangle for things you're interested in. Draw for every time there's an open or question or something could be explored. Okay, even if you don't care, that is this stage. That is the next stage to decide where you want to probe. Okay, so when I write here, it doesn't mean that I was watching the video and this thing really intrigues me. No, it's a purely neutral intellectual exercise. Up to this point, what question does it raise? Okay, and this is where you can be very scientific and objective, right? It's an intellectual exercise. Right now, given the information that's presented to you, what is the open question? Okay, but you don't have to answer them. Okay, just be critical. Like an annoying friend, right? Who finds always points out a gap in your logic, right? When you go to a drinking games or whatever, very annoying. Okay? Every single point you say something that's unsubstantiated, he or she will point it out. Well, do that. Be annoying. Every little open spot, say, okay, this opens to a question. This raises a question. This raises a question. This raises a question. Okay. Then, of course, It's up to you to answer it or just leave it. Okay. So this is what you want to do. I want to probe. And this is an example. Let's say I want to probe. This area here. So this area here, it just slipped down here. This thing. This is sort of like, I think when I was drawing this, the first thing I was doing was just making a copy, right? And then just eliminated the brand and so forth. So this is kind of like a subtree, so to speak. Okay. And that's what now I want to probe this area, this production of this or whatever. And yeah, so this is where I'm getting deep. Okay. Why does it matter? Okay, why does it matter? This is what you have to ask yourself. Well, obviously it does matter, otherwise you wouldn't narrow it down, right? So you narrow it down because it matters. Why? Okay, write it. Okay. So you can say because my aunt has a factory that whatever. Okay, that's interesting. It can remind me of this. Okay. And survey, right? Now this is where literally you just Google stuff, right? But you Google mostly from scholar base, not not news, not popular news. So, for example, you Google this, and then you start to get real paper. Okay, so this is an example. Now, this basically is the literature survey part. For example, I Google this thing because I want to know. I have an interest in seeing this happening in Thailand. Okay, and in industry setting. Well, the obvious trick is to not write the word bioplastic plus industry. You use the Thai word because that's gonna then send Google search to the information that's from the space, right? So yeah, there's a lot of paper. ปฏินันเอี่ยมสะอาดโพลีไฮดรอกซิอัลคาโนเอทพลาสติกชีวภาพจากแบคทีเรียบลาบลาบลาฉันชนกดวงสีวัสดุชีวภาพทดแทนพลาสติกสัญญาใจแก้ว right? So obviously, right? Hey, you're not alone. Yeah, and these are the links. Okay, these are the links. So e-journal. I don't let's say let's take one. I think I actually downloaded all this, but so this goes to the e-journals link. Some reason this is not yeah. Oh my. Okay, it's not the link. It's the okay. For some reason, it's not. It's. Oh, okay. Sorry. These are links, so it's actually link downloads. It's already been downloading. Okay. So this is like. So these are the papers. Good. Sorry. Okay. So this is done in the lab, done in Thailand. Very good. Okay, fine. Good. So that worked. Okay. So perform survey relating to the narrow scope, taking from the previous step. Okay. So you don't search all the open question. You search the open question that you care about. Blah blah blah. Okay. So this is example here. And then the last part again is where I leave it, deliberately imprecise. You say that's your thing. So, first of all, as a homework, every one of you will, and I suggest, okay? Well, you don't have to follow my cue, but you could. And I have another account that is my personal account that I link to all this. But I think I actually did something else for you. In the syllabus, work, class, admin stuff. Okay, in the syllabus. Yeah, I list as a resource, again, I'm providing you with the library. So even in the syllabus, it already is a library. These are obviously supplementary text. These are very good. I tend to have PDF version of a lot of these papers. Yeah, so ask me if you can't find them. Now, these here are very good. Okay, so these are the channels, they're in the channel, but I write it formally, so I credit the creator. Okay, so they're just saying seeker, I say, okay, Julia Wild, and Sensu, maybe this one organization, just have a thing. So, you know, seeker, Sensu, just have a thing. It's very good on sustainability problem. Veritasium, excellent. 2 minutes paper. This is a lot of AI kind of thing. So maybe not the thing. 3 blue, 1 brown. One of the best mathematics intuition ever. Quantum, but you know, things like quantum magazine, science. These are more like technology. Okay. Real engineering, Curious Droid, Wired, of course, Vox, TED-Ed. Yeah, but TED-Ed tends to be a very short, free documentary. That's obviously very good. Lex Friedman, he does a lot of podcasts with excellent guest list. So you can go to my own, you know, academic. Oh, this is academic. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is sort of like my own my alternative login, but instead of okay, so this is, oops, sorry. Let me click again. Playlist. Yeah. So biology, medicine, quantum physics, quantum computing. For some reason, it doesn't go there. Oh, no. Because that's the time of my playlist, right? Okay, science and technology. Ah, okay, there it is. Okay, so these are links that I made earlier, just because these are things I find interesting. So you can go through this if you like, but the point is, you shouldn't have the same one. Yeah. So pick your own. Pick your own. Okay. Pick your own. What we can do is this. Maybe in the line group or whatever, right? You go pick a video, and you say, I chose this video. Just sort of like dip, you know, this is mine. And then so this one is off the choice. Then somebody else say, okay, I choose this one, blah blah blah. Okay, so you can do that today after class. Okay, as soon as you find something that is a substantial, meaning it's not headed, I would not recommend, because it's a little bit shallow. It's meant to be like a short 2 minute, 1 minute thing. Okay, so seeker, for example, you know, quantum machine, all these are very good. Find the area that sync with what you're interested in. Okay, there, I got a dip on this side. So all 10 of you will have individual video project. Okay, again, it's not for enjoyment. Okay, it's not for enjoyment. It's for very, I can say, a very dry intellectual exercise at first. Okay, you're literally annotating, annotating, which is kind of fun actually. I don't know about you, but sometimes you like watching movies. I like watching video that analyzes movies. I don't know why. Sometimes I haven't even watched the movies. Right, I already enjoy it. So it's maybe it's my analytical brain that prefers that sort of thing. Okay, so that's what I want you to do for your assignment. Okay, that'll be your assignment. So it's IPSI. Okay. Right. So this one I'll just close. I don't need to save this. I can give this to you. I don't know if I have, but let's say I'll just give it to you. In your line group, right? Class material. Material +1. Yeah, this was supposed to be +1, and let me do that right away. And I can do that during the break. Okay, right. So that's your homework. That'll be your homework. Okay, you can choose any from my list and so forth, but certainly, and I also have like a list of sites I follow. Those are excellent. Yeah. I certainly didn't have time to watch all the videos in full. Sometimes I just skip. Sometimes I just make the annotation because I know it would be good for students. Right? So I haven't watched all of it myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't have a life. Anyway, so that's it. That's what I mean by this thing. In this probe, it's a cycle thing. It's a cycle thing. Because once you get to imagine, you might redo this. You might redo this, evolve something else, and so forth. So I'm gonna put this under framework. Okay. Last week we had sufficiency economy philosophy. I didn't write down any details in here because we have a separate PowerPoint for that. But just for your benefit, I did put a little pointers here and there. Okay, the triple principle and okay, so for this you can look at. Okay, so let's take a video break.